Hi guys, hi. My name is Anastasia, and I'm starting my live webinar on fashion history. So today it's going to be very interesting one, since I'm testing this. It is a kind of test, and of course we're going to have fun, and I want to give you some interesting information. So okay. So, and I would like to start just kind of checking if everything is going on all right, and let's start actually. So, my name is Anastasia. I'm salon owner. I'm the author of 2 books now, and as you know, or if you don't know, one of my greatest interest and passion is fashion. And not only fashion, but actually history of fashion and history of hairstyles, because I don't know, it's just so fascinating for me. So this is what I do on my spare time. I'm just reading books, watching I don't know, historical movies, and collecting the information. And I decided to do those series of webinars, unless maybe somebody will be interested as well as I am. So let's start it. Before actually I'm going to start, I have a couple agreements. First actually agreement is that be positive and open-minded. Also, be active participant on the chat, because I would like to know actually if you have any questions, if it's interesting for you or not. So, let's just talk. And next one, mention the credits if you decided to share this on your social media. I'm just doing this just for fun, and it is a free series of webinars, but it's going to be fun. And of course, the most important one, enjoy and have fun. So let's start it. First, let's actually define what fashion is. Fashion is defined as a prevalent style of dress or behavior at any given time, with the strong implication that fashion is characterized by change. So basically, fashion is something what changes all the time. It's not constant, not stable state. So actually, Oxford Dictionary says that fashion is a popular style of clothes, hair, or makeup at particular time or place. So basically, this is the state of being popular. Why it is important that we're starting with those definitions? Because when you say fashion, usually people cannot define what fashion is. We have different opinions. We have different thoughts what does it mean, but we don't know what it actually means. So I just want to clarify what is that. So basically, fashion is a popular style of clothes, hair, and makeup at particular time or place. Why it's so important, that particular time or place? And it is very critical actually, because let's take a place. For example, place. You probably think that and you probably kind of feel that whatever is in fashion, let's say somewhere in Europe, probably fashion of Africa would be different, and fashion of South or North America would be completely different. That's why place is important. And the same time, because, for example, what was in trends, I don't know, in the 18th century probably is very different what in fashion is right now. So that's why time and place, it's those two things what is defining the fashion. But then what is style? So let's define what style is. Style is particular kind, sort, or type, as with reference to a form, appearance, or character. So if fashion it's more general term. So style is very, very defined and particular. So it is a particular kind, sort of type with a reference to a form, appearance, or character. So interesting. And what hairstyle means, the hairstyle is the style in which a person's hair is cut and arranged. So I would like, I'm gonna give you a little bit different facts about hair because I love hair. This is my life, and I'm just, and I think that everybody is interested and everybody's curious what is all hair and all those things are. So basically, there are 5 different types of hair: scalp hair, body hair, eyebrow hair, pubic hair, armpit hair. So 5. And actually, of each of those type of hair plays very important role and very important function. Actually, did you know that pretty much 90% of our hair, of our body is covered by hair? 90%. Of course, during the evolution, during the history, we lose a lot of hair. Specifically nowadays, we don't need so much body hair protection, but we still have it. Like, those goosebumps, and hair has a protective and thermoregulation purposes. So protective, it's kind of understandable. For example, like eyebrows, right? So it's protect eyes from, let's say, when your sweat is dripping on your forehead, that it's not gonna go straight into your eyes. It's actually protecting your eyes. Or let's say nose hair is protecting your lungs and throat from that dust what we're breathing. And thermoregulation. So that's also kind of very interesting because, for example, scalp, to protect our head when you're on the sun, not to burn your scalp, not to be overheated on the sun. That's why we have scalp hair. So this is kind of biological evolution history, but I find it actually quite interesting. So those series of webinars actually would be on a scalp hair and hairstyles, even though every of those 5 types have a different hair salons. For example, eyebrows, that we have those trends and fashion for eyebrows now very different. Like, let's say in the 40s, like Marilyn Dietrich, it was in fashion very thin and very narrow eyebrows, versus now it's very fashionable to have, it's very in trend to have those kind of thick and natural looking eyebrows. Even pubic hair. In New York, there is very famous hair salon for intimate haircuts where they're doing those different shapes, even colors, to impress your beloved one. Maybe not even beloved one, whoever gonna see it. Anyway, my series is gonna be on fashion and scalp hairstyles. So let's go. Why we actually thinking that why hair and hairstyle, excuse me, is so important? Why actually it's so important? Why do we even care how our hair looks? Specifically nowadays, with this quarantine, hair salons, I mean, I'm in Canada, Toronto, so here hair salons are closed. We all going already, what, 2nd, 3rd month, we're going to natural look, and hair looking like a disaster. And some people thinking, okay, I even don't care, but some people do. So let's see actually, why is it so important our hair is for us? It's actually, our hair has couple indications, couple reasons. It's biological, social, psychological, and personal. And let me go deeper in every of those aspects because it's pretty much very, very important. Today, I'm gonna stop deeper and more into the details on the biological aspect, but you will see even from that history of the hair, it's something what's going on the cycles and even from ancient times. So let's talk about biological aspects today. So the symbolism of hair is very powerful because of its close connection with sex, age, and the life force itself, but also because of its evolutionary associations with natural signals. So, for example, the lion's mane is a nature's demonstration of power, so the same as a human hair. And it has been like that through the history. Like from in an animal world, that actually females of orangutan and gorillas, they make their hair wild and very shaking very hard to make it voluminous and big and shaggy. And this is indication of fertility in those sexual attractiveness. So maybe it's something similar and closer to nowadays that ladies love those big hair. Who knows? Let's see. Let's go deeper. So the shiny and healthy looking locks always have been considering as sexy because it was indication of good health and visual signal that body is young and person would be able to have a healthy babies. And that is actually very interesting, and that's why we like to have a healthy hair, because it's considered to be young. Doesn't matter how old you are, by your passport inside we're all young, right? So we still want to have to be our hair healthy and shiny and good looking. And I'm always saying to my clients, if you long hair, it's only beautiful when it's healthy, blow dried nicely, shiny, nourished. When it's just long and dull and brittle and just hanging, it's no beauty there. It's no signal. It's not biological signal that I'm sexy. So the structure of our hair changes with the age, as well as the structure of the skin. So brittleness, fragility, dull, and gray hair. So, but the aging of the skin and hair occurs in a different ways. The facial skin renews itself every 28 to 30 days. Hair is not programmed to self-renovation, and this means that any damage to the hair you did, it's going to be permanent. And what I mean by permanent, since it is a dead material, so whatever damage you did, thermal, chemical, sunburns, mechanical, whatever damage, you cannot repair anymore until you're going to cut it or it's going to fall off. So there are, of course, some products what is can make your hair look better and to have a better condition, but the damage actually is permanent. So be please careful. So and it is a stereotype that only old people have a gray hair, but it's not true. Because some people, and I'm working with the clients all the time, so I have seen it a lot, that some people have a gray hair, I don't know, in early 20s. And some do not find a single gray hair at the age of 60. And this is phenomenal. Of course, like healthy diet, regime, fitness, environment, vitamins, that everything does matter. But the main factor why you're going gray or not going gray is actually genetics. It's pre-programmed by genetics, and that's it. Of course, level of stress and all this is additional factors what can speed up the process or slow down the process, but you cannot make it reversible, and it is inevitable process, and it is how it is programmed by your body and by your genetics. So this is actually interesting. Let's talk about men a bit, because more than fifth of men begin to lose their hair soon after adolescence. By the age of 50, closer to 2/3 of Caucasian men have some degree of baldness. This is inevitable. The chemistry of male hormones deactivates the cell that cause hair to reproduce, particularly on the top of the head. In theory, actually, the bolder men go, the more masculine they are. There's a, baldness shows that male has reached virile maturity. It is a sign of dominance. Hey, like, let's think about Bruce Willis. Who else? Who we have? Like Vin Diesel, The Rock. That bodybuilder, he's also bald, but it is nowadays. It's have not been like that before. Remember, in a middle age, actually men were wearing those puffy wigs. Actually, first hair salon for men was opened in France, in Paris, in 1658. And that was we're going to talk about barbering probably later on our lectures, because it's fascinating. As you know, barbers, it's now barbers who just do your hair, and we're not even allowed to use a straight razor to shave you properly, to shave men properly. But back then, actually, barbers was kind of surgeons. They was doing a dental surgery. They was doing those bloodletting, because it was a myth that it is very good for the health. So that was barbers was doing, as well as they was doing the hair and wigs. But for example, now we understand that hair, it is that language, it is that communication. For example, it is a verbal and not verbal ways of communication, as you know, right? So for example, traffic light, it is a not verbal way of communication. So green light, say you can go. Red light, say you need to stop. So it is way to communicate, and you understand what's going on. So it is a way of communication, right? But at the same time, and hair is also a way of communication. It's also showing who you are, to which, what kind of society you are, royalty, you are slaves, because let's say royalty was wearing wigs in the ancient times, and slave was shaving their head like they were bald or have very short hair. So that was kind of, you can understand to which part of a society the person belongs to. Or even, let's say, in Greeks, Asian Greeks, there was the indication by to where they belonged. It was defined by their hair color. For example, black or dark hair was allowed only for poor people, because that's naturally how they were born with the dark hair. For example, blonde hair was allowed only to a middle class. I mean, process of a blonding back then, it was quite fascinating, because they used to, you don't probably want to hear, they used a cow's or goat's urine, let it on a sun, that actually liquid evaporates, that you have those concentrated ammonia. You can imagine the smell. Then they soak the hair into that concentrated urine and let it dry on a sun, because that's actually the ammonia, chemical process open the cuticle, and the sun kind of bleaching it, so and hair become lighter. So you can imagine the smell. Anyway, and then, for example, rich and royalties were able to wear red hair, and it was very, very defined. So, for example, if you're poor and you color your hair red or blonde, what is you not belong to that level of a society, you can face a death penalty. So here it is that way of a communication, what is very important. Nowadays, it's probably not that much, but pretty much we can understand to what society you belong to, you know, just looking, with a person who has mohawk, or to a person who reads news and always having those luxury hair, you kind of understand where a person belongs to. Not I'm not even talking financially, but kind of like subcultures. Making sense? Anyway, coming back to this is I'm already jumping to my social and psychological and personal aspects, but today I want to talk more about biological, because from evolutionary point of view, from history point of view, hair always was a part of our culture, because hair, it, as we now understand, it was a part of communication. So coming back to our man, so so in theory, the bolder men go, the more masculine they are. So baldness is kind of a sign of dominance, and as I said, like with Diesel and Bruce Willis. But when in the middle age, actually, men was wearing those wigs. They were wearing wigs because they was losing their hair, not because of a natural aging and hair loss, like what we can see today, but actually because of syphilis. I know. That's why I love fashion, because it has those such disgusting but interesting facts. So that's actually why they were wearing wigs. Men were wearing wigs because they want to cover that they are bald, that they have syphilis. They want to appear that they are healthy. So but even nowadays, we can see that men still worry about their hair loss and go all kinds of lengths to cover it up, especially with those comb overs. Have you seen those comb overs when wind is blowing? It's like, look, my goodness, shaved man is better. Wigs, toupees. They also go through chemical treatments for the scalp, even hair transplantation, what is actually very painful and very expensive procedure, and also hormone therapy. So they're doing all those kinds. But why are they doing? Why are they going through all those? Because baldness is kind of that double-edged sword. So it not only indicates its maturity and dominance and that, confidence in man, but also it shows irreversible aging signals. And it's also a signal that sexual activity is kind of declining. And for every man that sexual activity declining, it's a death. So that's why they're trying to show that no, I'm not there yet. I'm still young and my head is full of hair. What is in my opinion doesn't matter, my opinion. I love bald men and I find it very sexy. It's very sexy and appealing to me. The same with men with the hair, like, oh my God. Anyway, interesting fact actually about hair, that on average you shed around 100 strands of hair a day. So basically when you brush your hair and you have some hair on your brush, don't panic, you don't have any hair loss, because it's normal to lose up to 100 hairs a day. Okay, so but with age, hair becomes less shiny. That's a fact. And less shiny, less kind of healthy looking, we already know it's kind of signal of aging. What is okay? Because aging, it is like, I'm not saying that aging is something bad. Aging, it is a normal biological process, and it's okay. And I actually, personally, I find those women who can age with grace, it's very sexy and it's very cool. But we still have fashion nowadays. Now you understand why history of fashion is so important. It is still fashion that, when if you're going to work, you're looking for a job, you want to look more energetic, that you know your stuff, that you have a lot of energy to do your stuff. And that's actually why women covering their gray hair, because they want to look younger. So, but with the age, hair becomes less shiny. And the explanation is that its outer shell consists of numerous overlapping small scales. When the capillary fiber lacks of internal moisture, these scales rise and do not reflect light well. And that's actually, it's not shiny because it's not reflecting the light. And the easiest and fastest way is, besides, of course, those moisturizing treatment and all those good stuff for the hair to fill those emptiness with moisture, it's the easiest way to restore the shine and strength is hair coloring. I know it's strange, but actually it is, because when hair is colored, the hair becomes more dense and thick in texture, therefore more radiant, strong, and voluminous. In addition to the saturated pigment, nourish the hair with the natural proteins, oils, vitamins, and color and gloss restoration is achieved thanks to amino acids. But coloring your hair, it's quite a stress, so don't do it by yourself. Leave it to professionals, because mass market hair coloring products or those hair coloring kits is completely different as professional ones. Since, for example, how I'm going to quickly explain you, and then you're going to know for the rest of your life how it works. Since like mass market color kits, how it works. So basically, they have those big jar. They put there, I don't know, it's like 200 liters. They add there 1 drop of some oil, and that's why their marketing team has a right to say that it's enriched with jojoba or olive oil or whatever oil. But actually, we both understand that no oil is there. But even that is not important. The most important, how it works on a chemical level, on a chemistry level, because those mass market color, it's actually coating your hair. Besides that, it contains metallic salts and all other creepy and bad ingredients. It's actually coating your hair, and it's coating your hair. Versus professional products, actually rises your cuticle, filling inside with those amino acids, pigment, and everything, and then closing the cuticle, and that hair is more thick and more, moist from the inside, not just coated. And that's why professional hairdressers, they don't like to deal with those mass market coloring correction, because you have no idea how many layers of those coat is on the hair. So if you want to strip it, you have no idea how many layers they are, that sometimes when you're stripping, you can actually dissolve even its own hair, because you cannot do it. Versus professional product, it's still a process, but it's kind of easier, because you open the cuticle, kind of removing those pigment and depositing new ones. I mean, it's very simple way, but it's kind of, you understand what's going on. And that's why actually When you see, if you color your hair at home, you always have lighter roots and darker middle shaft and ends. Why? Now you understand why. Because on the new regrowths, you only have a one coat of those mass market color kits, right? Versus middle shaft and ends already what it's overlapping many times. That's why it's look more rich. What has nothing to do professional color, just work with that just like that. So this is kind of me speaking as a hairdresser, because I want you to educate and I want you to know those fun stuffs. I think it's fun because it's very fun for me. Anyway, hair coloring, actually, it's not something new. You would think it's something new, but it's actually known from the ancient times. Archaeological studies reveal that hair cutting and hairstyling were practiced in some form of early as Ice Age. Ice Age. That's crazy, right? So they did cut their hair with some form of sharpened bones, animal bones, or oyster shells. That's where the tools what they was using for a haircut. They was using the animal skin to tie their hair back or as an adornment or something like that. And actually they was coloring also their hair, skin, nails, and they actually were practicing scarring and tattoos. So tattoos, it's not something what is popular just now. It's actually coming from those times where, before even ice, during the Ice Age and later. That's what the people were indicating themselves and showing signals on their body who they are. So, and now you're thinking, that's why, now you're thinking like, oh my God. And that's why you need to know fashion history, just, to understand those trends and to understand those facts. Oh, I can't, it's so exciting. I just remember it was a time, you remember, probably at the beginning of 2000s, where glamorous ladies was walking with those little dogs and they had those chihuahua, or they have those little bags, fancy bags, purses where they all held their little dogs. I love those dogs. They are so cute, but to carry with you all the time, that's actually fashion comes from the Middle Age, specifically from Europe, because at that time in Europe, high society was drowning in a sea of lice and bugs. It was the most horrific time for hygiene. They were believing that if you're washing your body or if you're washing your hair, or actually then you becoming more exposed to catch any disease. So they was not washing themselves. So of course those bugs and lice on the body and hair, it was tremendous. So that's why it was a belief that if you're gonna carry that little dog, or some really like kings, they have those really exotic little animals. So the logic was that lice and bugs gonna jump on the dog and not gonna bite you in your skin. So that's actually why those little dogs was in a trend back in the 17th century. And when I saw those little ladies, when they don't know the fashion history, I was like, that looks dirty. I'm joking, but you kind of understand that it has arisen as fashion going in cycles. So it's quite interesting to know those facts. Anyway, back then, Asian people, they were using for hair coloring pigments, what were made from berries, tree barks, minerals, bugs, nuts, herbs, leaves, and other materials. Many of those colorings are still actually used today. I know the hair coloring, of course, back then was completely different, and today, even though today we're using also ammonia and other ingredients to open the cuticle and to make the pigment work, but at the same time back then people were experimenting, and trust me, the beauty process back then, it was not a fancy and relaxing experience what we have in today. So speaking about that, don't worry that nowadays on a quarantine and stuff, we actually, you're going natural or whatever, and you cannot do your hair at the moment. Trust me, we are not at the worst position yet. At least we have shampoos, we have water, and we can experiment and have fun with what we have. Anyway, that's it for today. And I hope it was interesting. I'm just doing this new called, new thing. So I'm not sure why I don't see any of your comments. I don't see any of your comments, but I hope you enjoyed this video, and please comment. Probably after I'm done, probably those comments will be available. So please comment, let me know how did you like it, and I don't know, sometime soon I'm gonna prepare another lecture and we're gonna have fun over fashion history and history of the hairstyles. So thank you and talk to you later. Bye.